Hi, Fred Dawson here with Screenplays. We're in Amsterdam at IBC, and we have an opportunity to talk with Arnaud Perrier, who is the Vice President of Solutions Marketing at envivio. Thanks so much for taking time to speak with us, Arnaud.
Thanks for having me, Fred.
Obviously, we've come to a moment in the evolution of paid TV and of everything having to do with getting content out to every screen, where this is what you were made for, right? So the question, I guess, now is, all of a sudden, operators everywhere realize that multi-screen is mainstream. It's not over on the side as a little adjunct to making services a little more appealing. They've got to do it in a big way, and all of a sudden it is truly a nightmare from a cost standpoint, from an architectural, how do you get all this done? What are you seeing as to how that's getting resolved, and what are the solution points that some people are acting on with your portfolio?
Yeah, that's exactly right. It's a pivotal moment for us in the industry, because everybody's starting to really embrace the software convergent capabilities of our solutions, right? As you know, we can run any codec on a off-the-shelf Intel-based architecture in the data center, right? So we can distribute MPEG-2 even at optimized bandwidth to reclaim, capacity from legacy services to reallocate to new services. We can run H.264, right, in VBR for satellite services, in CBR for IPTV, and most recently HEVC to reduce bandwidth on the new multi-screen services or on new VOD services. And we're all doing this from a single piece of software, or Muse transcoding software in the data center, right? And once you implement that, no longer do you depend as an operator on dedicated hardware headends, right, or siloed hardware headends, right? But also you're able to completely consolidate that, right, in one operation, right? So your costs, both in terms of CapEx, rack space, power savings, and also OpEx, go way down all of a sudden, right?
One of the obviously pushbacks around that scenario is, well, okay, but we're used to doing paid TV at the highest possible level with encoders that were designed specifically to get super high quality over the amount of bandwidth we have to allocate. How can we possibly now, give that up in favor of saving some costs and running on generic processors?
That's a really good question, and the answer is that they don't have to give that up. As a matter of fact, we're able to enhance on the quality that they're used to getting on the hardware platforms, right? So, of course, nobody would go away from best of breed. Quality of service, quality of experience for my pay subscribers is what's still most critical. Can't compromise on that. However, if we are able to show that we provide even better quality than what they have today on those hardware platforms, then it's a no-brainer, right? I'll give you an example. We announced a partnership with Zon Multimedia, MSO multi-platform operator in Portugal recently. They used our software solution for multi-screen, right? TV to iPads, phones, etc., PCs, and they got used to operating it and its reliability, even as a piece of software, right? And at some point they thought, so why can't envivio power my H.264 headend for DTH, right? They also have a cable headend, as a matter of fact, running old MPEG-2, so they also tested our MPEG-2 StatMux technology versus their existing headends, whether it be from legacy vendors. And what they found was, not only is it just as reliable, running from the same software that runs the ABR operation, but they're also able to squeeze in more channels or enhance the quality versus the hardware platforms.
So they've actually made a transition where they're able to do all of those outputs around a single platform.
That is correct.
And in so doing, How do they make that transition? I mean, did they just trash what they had, or is this incremental, in like an MPEG-2? Is this for additive stuff, or is this just put it all in one?
No, I think it's easier for like the likes of MPEG-2 because they're legacy services. More, in some cases it's even end of life equipment. They're going to run out of support after a while. They have to do something, make a decision. Either I invest in a new, again, yet another hardware architecture that I'm going to have to throw out in 3 years. Is that
right.
a smart choice? Or do I just buy a license from envivio to turn that on my existing data center? I think the answer is really easy. So.
Are you seeing, say, MSOs in North America moving in this direction, seeing the wisdom of doing this kind of thing?
Yeah, so we have obviously some success in Europe. We absolutely see this trend happening in America, North America, and also in Asia, right? So it's just a question of time. So, but there's really pivotal moment now in the industry towards the software on Intel infrastructure for converged architectures.
And of course, one of the things that goes into making this a pivotal moment is the onset of HEVC, the next generation of MPEG encoding and compression.
That's right.
And here at this show, we've seen a lot of buzz around that, and I guess there are certain use scenarios that are coming in sooner than later, but from the standpoint of anybody operating in a legacy head-end situation, this has got to be a serious concern, because on the one hand they want to get to the bandwidth savings that come with that. They got 4K, Ultra HD on the horizon,
right.
And yet on the other hand, that means trading out. That means finding new hardware to run that, unless they happen to be on generic servers where they can implement software that could do that. Yeah. Is that in your mind a consideration that's entering into your customers' thinking as to whether now is the time to make that transition to the converged head-end we're talking about?
It is very much so, because just like they want to reduce costs for legacy services, they're worried about future-proofing their system, right? This market is moving so fast now. New devices, new TVs, smart TVs with 4K capability, Samsung handsets, Galaxies that have HEVC decoding capabilities, new graphics, new rich program guides. How do I, address all this, right? It's very scary. And you can wait to buy another, hardware-based solution, which is not available today, by the way, right? Or you can say, I already have a solution in software, and if I go with that, I can simply buy a license and turn on HEVC or transition to HEVC to save cost, and turn on 4K in a few months if I need to, right? So you don't need to make a critical investment decision in new hardware, or even delay purchasing decisions or your ability to do that, right? There's just no hardware solution for 4K today anyway, right?
Yeah. So. Now, of course, a lot of operators, and we're seeing, I think, a little more excitement around 4K here than I've seen in the past year. It's certainly some of the shows in North America. And I think that in North America, there's still a certain amount of amongst the operators skepticism or uncertainty about how important 4K is to their future, and now we're seeing the onset of 10-bit as opposed to 8-bit encoding. We're seeing built into the standard 60 frame per second, not just 30 frame per second capabilities, all of which will contribute to intensifying and improving the quality. I guess one of the things that gets ignored in a lot of the discussion is okay, this is for high value quality picture for very big screens, and only so many people are going to have those screens. But then there's this whole element of 4K, which opens up all this real estate for doing all these things, and to your mention of what Samsung is doing, to give you more space and more flexibility to do things. And so I guess my question to you is, do you think that there's going to be like a faster than some people may envision adaptation to 4K in the marketplace that they got to be prepared for sooner than later?
Yeah. So what we see in the market is definitely a trend that's happening faster, on a faster ramp than we've seen, let's say 6-7 years ago when HD services first came to market. The first reason is that there is no dependency on necessarily on brand new CPEs or set-top boxes to be able to do that, right? There's an installed base of whether it's new TVs or smart devices that are capable of doing that with software. Decoders, maybe with some hardware assist, but it's there, right? So as a content owner or as an operator, you have many more options to go to market and a lot faster with that. And the screen size, I mean, the TVs are, the panel cost always comes, way down. It's coming down faster than we've ever seen, right? So you can already buy a Chinese 4K TV for $2,000, right? So you'll expect that the brand names are going to be, half the cost that it is today in 4 months, right? So, but what I think is going to happen, and the opportunity for internet plays, the likes of Netflix or Hulu, is really to differentiate versus the traditional operators and be first to market with a service like this.
So that suddenly gets people's attention, whatever they're speculating on as to the receptivity or whatever, all of a sudden it's available over the top. It's something to pay attention to.
That's right. I mean, the technology is here, right? I mean, you look at our 4K video on the big screen here, this is available today. You can stream a movie at 12 megabits on the biggest 4K screen, right? So you don't need huge broadband speeds, right. to be able to do that, right?
And to that point, you're there with that. I mean, how close are you to being able to support one of those OTT people that wants to deliver that 4K out into the marketplace?
Yeah, we're there today. Our Muse On Demand software transcoder can provide that right now. At really, really good quality, very compelling, level of sharpness, at the bandwidth that, a cable operator takes to distribute an HD signal today, right? Yeah. 12 megabits. Think about it. This is the cable rate for HD MPEG-2, right? So, and HEVC, makes that possible, and we're really, really happy with the progress we made on the HEVC codec in the last 3 months, right? For on-demand, we see some in the neighborhood of 30 to 40% gains versus H.264 already. For live linear encoding, we're already at about 25 to 30% gains versus H.264. So the savings are there, and also quality gains. I think that's one of the attractive aspects of HEVC. People talk all the time about lower bandwidth, more channels. But what we've noticed is that you actually get a better user experience. You do get sharper pictures, more detail, just because of the characteristics of the codec, right? Details that you were not necessarily able to see with H.264, even on HD video. So we're excited. It's going way faster than we anticipated. The ramp is faster than we saw for H.264. So.
Interesting. A lot of things for operators to think about when it comes to what they're preparing for with this whole multi-screen scenario, which brings up the question of the other elements, which go to how to make this a more compelling experience than just a replication of what they're offering over their linear channels today, and that gets into personalization and how do you do that if you're trying to serve all these end users from a centralized point. It seems almost impossible to get to that level of personalization without some kind of change in the architecture.
Right.
And I guess you've now put out into the marketplace an edge-based solution that integrates with how you operate in the head end. Tell us a little bit about that and how that is being received in the marketplace.
Yeah, so it's an interesting problem that operators face, and we hear those concerns all the time now. They have all those different screen sizes and so many different client environments, right? The experience is not consistent when you go from one screen to the other, right? The program guides look different. You don't necessarily find the same content or search the same way. It's not interesting to view video just like you would on your couch on your iPad. It's not a lean back, it's a lean forward. You need much more interaction and dynamic content recommendations, maybe ads that are tailored for me based on my preferences. So that's the whole set of challenges that we face now. And that's what we're focused on the network delivery piece of our products. Right? Our Halo product line, which is packager and origin server, we're expanding the scope of that product line to help operators monetize those services and provide a personalized experience. What does that mean? It means that instead of them spending R&D teams and resources on developing individual clients for all the devices, we provide value by taking care of this in the network, in the cloud, on the server side. Right? So we provide a consistent experience, completely independent of what format or what screen they want to deliver to.
That sounds like an awful lot of processing and intelligence at the edge. How is that accommodated without incurring a whole lot of added costs at the edge?
It's not that much, processing. It takes a bit of memory. It's more just opposite to transcoding, which takes CPU. This takes quite a bit of RAM memory. It takes obviously storage if you're going to provide, archive or start over services, for users, especially cloud DVR. If you go to if you have to implement a unique copy cloud DVR. Unique copy per user, your storage costs are going to start to balloon. Are going to start to balloon, but the processing side of it is fairly cost effective, as a matter of fact, right? Because you archive your content in a pivot format, you can deliver it on demand, encrypt it on demand with just-in-time packaging and encryption, and there's things you can do in the CDN as well to optimize all that, right?
But we're still talking about doing this in software on commodity servers, right?
Intel servers, that's right.
Yeah.
In the
so
data
it's
center.
it's not like taxing things to where you have to put in something special there. You can use what's already there and maybe augment it with a couple more blades or whatever.
That's right. Just like our encoding software, Halo product line can be purchased as a piece of software that you install on data center based on HP blades or Cisco UCS or IBM, right? Doesn't really matter, right?
Now this, of course, represents a new wrinkle in how operators would go about setting up their networks or looking at what's happening in their networks as far as coordinating things. What kind of response are you seeing with this?
We think they're excited. I mean, we get real excitement about that. Because again, it builds value, right? Right now they have to look at a complete panel of different companies and solutions. Whether you're talking about dynamic ads, there's companies that are just in that business, right? Or network PVR, cloud DVR, right? There's companies that are specialized in that, right? And each have their own, more or less complete ability to add kind of multi-screen to the mix, but not really a global view of what's happening, on a per user basis. That's part of the value we bring, right? We have access to all that traffic. We see it. We know how to optimize it and deliver it in the right content at the right time. Right?
So what you're talking about is a very tightly integrated architecture.
That's right.
That is leveraging all these points in the network to deliver this personalized service with minimum hassles as far as the cost and the data analytics and everything else. It's all just intrinsic to the way the architecture is set up.
That's exactly right. So we can leverage the CDN, we can leverage existing storage, right? So the solution has APIs to deal that talks to program guides, for instance, for archiving and recording of assets, cloud DVR, DRM systems for encryption, and storage systems, of course.
So in that context, then it's a matter of what's going to drive this. Is it an advertising driving thing, or is it just the idea of a better user experience? I mean, is there real money showing up here?
Yeah, I think it's all of it. I mean, more and more of our customers use recommendations engines to start with, right? So they're trying to, make the scope of those customer profiles global across the screens, right? Not, including the big screen TV. So we're able to leverage that. Of course, dynamic ads is the promise of doing higher CPMs, on a per user basis, right? So we've actually deployed in the US with an MSO the very first dynamic ad system for multi-screen.
Actually deployed?
On linear content, yes.
On linear content to multi-screen?
That is correct. That's the first.
Wow.
With the Halo product line.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we're starting to get there. There's still a lag a little bit in the business models, in the ad sales teams. There's still some uncertainty into that, how refined you want to get, in the user profiles. They know how to sell, regional ads or by zip code. They still have to adjust to the new models, the new business models.
Sure, there's a whole lot of back-end stuff around.
Right, it'll take time to, for the industry to completely embrace all this.
But they're putting it in place so it can happen.
But technically, it's already happening. Yeah, so we're excited about that. And then the storage play, I think, is interesting. The cloud DVR is Comcast has rolled this out already. The idea for the real incentive for operators to cut the CPE costs, even on the legacy devices, right? Forget multi-screen for a moment, right?
Right.
I don't want to ship set-top boxes, millions of set-top boxes with hard drives that fail over and over again, right? It's a huge expense. It's billions, right? I want to, control that cost in the cloud, right? And I want to be able to charge my users per capacity, right? So if they want 50 gig of capacity, they get that, part of the subscription. If they want more, I'll charge them another, $10 per 50 gig or something like that, right? It scales and it's unlimited, right? You're no longer limited by your set-top box storage, and it's available instantly on any device. You don't have to worry about the whole home experience or being outside the home. Everything happens in the network, right?
Yeah,
so
it's a pretty dramatic transition from what we know as a DVR. When you think about, it's not just about where the storage is; it's about how the user gets to use these things to actually create that storage. Well,
That's
Arnold,
right,
this has been very informative as to where things are going in the marketplace and the response to your solutions. I thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you, Fred.
Okay.